Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another cooking video. Now I know some of my more recent videos have been a little bit on the longer side, so today, right now I'm just kind of doing some prep for dinner, so I thought I'd film that and give you guys kind of just a shorter video and kind of a quick recipe video on making beef roast. Now this is in no way kind of a definitive guide, it's just what I like to do for making my beef roast. You know, everyone seems to love them, so I thought I'd kind of pass some of that knowledge on to you. So again, in the spirit of keeping this video a little bit shorter, I'm going to set the camera up on the counter here really quickly, jump right into it, and we'll go through this again. Kind of short and sweet, because then it's something that you guys can, you can grab and you can do quickly for yourselves on a random, Tuesday or Wednesday night, whatever day of the week this is. And to show you just how simple this recipe is, all you're going to need for this is your piece of beef, whatever cut it is. This just happens to be a little strip loin roast. You need a roasting pan, and then for the marinade, I like to use Dijon mustard and just a herb mix, which is in here. I have thyme, rosemary, oregano, basil, some other dry herbs. I can't even remember everything that's in there, but just kind of a custom herb mix. The good thing is, if you guys want to use something different, you can put all your favorite herbs in there. It's just kind of grind it all up into a powder, and then some salt and pepper, and that's pretty much it. I also have a knife on my counter here, A, to open up the package, and B, just in case I want to trim off maybe some extra fat that I don't want on there. But yeah, that's a simple setup, guys. So in a second here, I'll show you how to put it all together. So next step, as you can see off camera, I've gone and taken the meat out of the package and given it a little pat down with some paper towel. You always want to do that because in the packages there's usually some extra blood that has to linger on the meat, and obviously you don't want that going into your final product. So again, if there's a lot, kind of cut the bag open, drain the blood out into the sink, and then when you take it out, give it a wipe down so it's kind of dry like this and no blood. And secondly, one of the reasons why I like this cut of meat is for the fat cap that we can see on top here. Now, I like to leave it on mine because as it cooks, the fat kind of breaks down and molds into the meat and gives you that extra flavor. But if you're not a fan of maybe that much fat, or you just want to trim it down a little bit, that's when you would go ahead, take your knife, and then gently trim it off. I'm not going to show you that whole thing in the video today, guys, because it'll take a little bit long. I'll make a separate video later on, but just a little tip there. You can either leave it on or take it off. Really, the preference is up to you. So once you've established whether you want your fat cap on or not, I like to marinate everything in my roasting pan. I know some people might be against it, but I look at it this way. When you marinate in here, all the flavor stays in the pan, and that way when you cook it later and you're basting it with the liquid later, all your flavor stays in one pan. If you go from one to another, you're going to lose something in the transfer. So anyways, that being said, as I mentioned, the two main things for cooking, for the marinade on here, are your Dijon mustard and your herb mix. Now, Dijon mustard is a pretty strong thing, so you only want maybe one or two little teaspoons here. I'm going to go with actually just one and a bit. And then you just want to rub that all over your meat. Get in there with both hands, don't be shy. Make sure you cover every surface of the piece of meat. Then it's going to look something like this. And then the next step is take your herb mix, or whatever it is, gently sprinkle it over. Right, kind of gently sprinkle it all over on every side of your piece of meat. Make sure you cover every section, right? And then again, just go back in there and make sure you rub it gently into the meat all over. Again, don't be shy. Give it a nice massage because you want to make sure that everything sticks into it. And again, if you have any kind of crevices or crannies, we don't on this, but you want to make sure you get into all of those. Leave no spot uncovered, and eventually you're going to get something that looks like this. You can see we have complete coverage with our Dijon mustard, our herb mix, and then you can go ahead, gently put some salt and pepper on there. You don't want to put a lot on because you don't want to make it too peppery, too salty, but just a little bit of salt and pepper. Again, rub it in, and after that you're basically marinated and good to go. And then the next step after that is, at this point, whenever you marinate something, you always want to let it sit for a little while so all the flavors can kind of soak into the product. So at this stage here, I'm going to let it sit for a little while, so I'm just going to cover it with some saran wrap that I have back here. You can use saran wrap, foil, something just to cover it lightly so you can set it either off to the side on your counter, or in this case, I'm going to set it into my fridge. But you always want to cover it just so you know that nothing else can get in there and either contaminate or ruin what you've already marinated so nicely. Alright everyone, so as you can see here, I've pulled the meat back out of the fridge. It was sitting in there for about an hour marinating. Of course, as I mentioned before, the more time you can have to marinate something, the better. So I would say typically if you can give it at least an hour, that's usually good enough for some of the flavor to get in. Obviously, if you have the luxury of time, I would marinate this now and cook it tomorrow or a couple days later. But since this is kind of just quickly for dinner tonight, I let it sit for an hour. So that being said, I've pulled it back out. You never want to put anything in straight from the fridge at super cold temperature. So let it sit out for a little bit. Let it come up to room temperature. The easiest way to do that is to have it sitting out on the counter as you're waiting for your oven to heat up. But at this point now, my oven's heated up. This is ready to go. And the only thing left to do is put some sort of liquid in the bottom. Now, I happen to have some older beef gravy here that I had made previously. I just defrosted it. So I'm going to put a little bit of that in the bottom just to give it some extra flavor later on. But if you're just at home, you don't have some beef stock, some older beef gravy, you can just put a little bit of water in there because, again, as the meat cooks, there's going to be juices that come out of the meat that are going to mix with the water, and it makes like a little bit of a gravy in the bottom, which goes back to my original point when I said I like to marinate and kind of keep everything in one pan if I'm going to cook it quickly, because then you don't lose any of that good flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how much liquid to put in there. Then we're going to put it in the oven and let it cook. Alright everyone, and again, just really quickly before it goes in the oven, you can see here, I've just put enough liquid in the bottom just to kind of cover the bottom. You don't want it to be too high because, again, we're not trying to steam this. We do actually want the meat to roast. But there's enough in the bottom that, again, it coats the bottom, and when I lift it up gently, you can see there's enough that gathers in the corner that I can get a spoon or a ladle in there and then continue to baste it and put it over the meat. So again, you don't want to completely cover it for this purpose because we are still trying to roast it. But yeah, just so you see. And the same goes with water. If you only have a little bit of water, again, just put enough in there just so that the bottom is covered. So the final steps to this is that you take your whole pan, you're going to take it over here to the oven, stick it in. I'm going to close her up. I'm going to set my timer for about an hour, come back and check it. Periodically, again, you want to check it in the oven here, check how it's going, get some of the liquid, put it back over the top so nothing completely dries out. And yeah, once it's completely done, I'll show you the end result. Alright everyone, so you can see here about an hour and 10 minutes later, this is our completed roast. I have the probe in. It has an internal temperature of 145 degrees. That's where you want it to be for your meat, your more medium rare to medium side. If you want it more than that, then the temperature you're looking for is 160, but you don't want it to go over 160, otherwise it's going to start to dry out. So there we go, guys. That's what the final result looks like, and that's pretty much going to do it for our kind of quick and easy roast beef recipe. Alright everyone, so that's going to do it for this video. As I mentioned in the intro, I wanted to keep it a little bit shorter, just give you guys kind of a quick little recipe for roast beef that you guys can put together really anytime you want. You can see how simple it is. There's only really 3 ingredients, the roast beef, your herb mix, and your Dijon mustard. Again, I have the beef gravy here that I had previously made. Again, not necessary. If you have it, you can add that. If not, just go a little bit of water. But once again, that's going to do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned a little something. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.